I've got the recipe for you. This dip is just amazing. It just melts in your mouth. Ooh. Bon appetit. Hey everybody, I'm Vera Stewart and welcome to the VeryVera Show. We have quite a show today and I'm very excited to have as my special guest Rebekah Faulk Lingenfelser, and she is a blog enthusiast. Some Kind of Good is the name of it. It's all about local ingredients and fresh caught seafood. She is a food enthusiast, she's a writer, she's a TV personality, and she actually originally grew up in Augusta, Georgia, but now lives in Savannah. And what she's brought with her today are two of her favorite recipes. I'm so excited. We're going to do a jambalaya that, y'all, if you love jambalaya, this is rich, it's delicious. You're going to really want to try it. And then how about a shrimp and corn chowder that is made with fresh local ingredients that is just amazing. And in Vera's Corner today, we're going to learn how to make puff pastry from scratch. You'll never buy the store-bought again. So we've got quite a bit to do. Rebekah, I am so excited to have you today.
Well, thank you so much for letting me be here. This is an honor, and I just can't wait to get cooking with you.
Well, I know it. And you know, we were actually going to meet down at the marina. You said you used to go there years ago, and I thought, well, since we're doing seafood and fresh things, that would have been fun. But the rain kind of got us.
It did.
I hate to complain. Absolutely.
We needed that rain.
Well, and this gives you an opportunity while we're chatting to make a recipe that we weren't planning to do today. So that's a bonus for everybody. We're going to do your pimento cheese. So, you know, when we've been talking back and forth, this love of cooking and being part of your family is really how you got started, just like I did. So as we make this, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, and we'll get started here. This recipe is so easy. It's literally just dump everything into a bowl and mix it up, and that's how I like to cook, simple and some kind of good. So definitely, Vera, I grew up cooking around, cooking in the kitchen with my mother and my grandmother and eating around the family table.
I'll take all the dirty dishes. How about that? I can be good for something.
Thank you, yes. And you can help me by dumping in a few of those if you want to. There's no order. We can just talk and cook. But my mom and dad certainly instilled, eating around the family table growing up in my brother and I. And so that is great memories that I have there. I can remember my grandmother coming out with those big warm baskets of cat head biscuits. And
oh my gosh, don't talk about it.
Food is just a central part of good times with family. And that's what Some Kind of Good is all about, good food and good company.
Well, speaking of that, you have a new book.
Yes, I do.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, you have it right back here on your shelf, and it's so exciting to be here in the VeryVera kitchen and to see that. My book is 283 pages of restaurant reviews and my favorite southern coastal recipes, and really just stories of my life. So I have been writing as a newspaper columnist in Statesboro, Georgia for many years, and started my blog.
Oh, that's so colorful.
It is. It looks like Christmas in there. Started my blog in 2011, so that's tons of content. And at the beginning of this year, I said, well, I'm going to do it this year. I'm going to put together my book, and it is just packed with those recipes that I love.
And recently you and I texted you because you had a thing about your church on Instagram, and it was dinner on the grounds, and that honestly was a visual description of what your book is all about.
It was, those Southern traditions. Dinner on the grounds is a long-standing Southern tradition in many places, and there at Old Richland Baptist Church in Jeffersonville, Georgia, it's where my daddy's side of the family's from, and every year we celebrated our 208th anniversary there.
Gosh.
So it was really special. Everybody brings a covered dish, and we just have dinner on the grounds and fellowship, and it's a wonderful experience.
Well, and that story and the way she's described it is the way that she writes in this book. I am honestly so glad right now that it rained because this is amazing. We wouldn't have gotten to do this together. We are going to finish this recipe. We've got just some Ritz crackers here. You said that we could actually kind of spread it on.
Yes, go ahead and spread you one.
Jump in there and do that.
It's creamy.
But when we come back from the break, we're going to get started on that jambalaya, and this is where we kind of marry kind of a little bit of a New Orleans twist with the South. So that's going to be good. So y'all come back with us in just a few minutes.
Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back, back, everybody, and if you're just joining us, I'm with Rebekah Faulk Lingenfelser, and she is actually originally from Augusta, but now lives in Savannah, Georgia.
That's right.
And she's bringing all this wonderful local stuff, coastal seafood.
That's right.
And so we made that delicious pimento cheese.
That's right, one of my favorite snacks. And now we're getting ready to jump into some jambalaya, which is kind of a quintessential southern coastal dish. So in my pan, y'all, we've already got some rendered fat from that bacon.
I love it.
And that sausage that's got good color on it. So there's great flavor in here. Woo, I love that sizzle, snap, crackle, pop. We're just adding some beautiful
I'm going to be in charge of dishes
peppers.
again.
You are a big help, Miss Vera. We've got some big peppers in here. I mean, big and beautiful colored peppers, green and red, and we have some jalapenos. This is another one of those easy recipes. And, you know, once you have everything chopped, that's really the hardest part.
I thought, honestly, she said, I feel like a princess because everything's already chopped for me.
It is so nice to have help in the kitchen when you're used to doing it alone, isn't it? So I'm just scraping up all those bits, and it smells
you know, this
so
large pan, this enamel, you know, you get that cast iron, but you get that, it's not sticking like it would if it was not a well-seasoned pan.
Exactly.
A little celery.
A little celery goes in there for crunch. And these are just going to cook down and soften up. We've got some onion here that we've chopped and a little bit of garlic, but we're going to hold off on that garlic for just a minute and let these others brown up. You know, garlic cooks real fast.
Yes, it does.
We want to add that in about the last 30 seconds. Yes, it smells phenomenal.
That's amazing. Well, and to me, when you're going to do something like this, how many people would this feed?
That is one of the reasons I love this dish, because it feeds a crowd. I have served 8 to 10 guests at my house.
Because you're going to do that has rice in it.
That's right. The rice puffs up, and you tuck that tender shrimp down in there, and literally the rice kind of helps to cook that shrimp, and it is just a crowd pleaser for sure.
All right. So on the bacon, when we cooked that ahead, you really want it to get good and crisp.
Right.
And then we took some of those bacon drippings out.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes. We reserved just enough grease in here to really cook these vegetables, and it's perfumed. So that is delicious. Let's go ahead and add in our garlic. And then, Vera, if you want to hand me that rice.
Yes.
And before we add the rice in, let's season it. I've got some Old Bay here, and then we always want to season with a little bit of salt and pepper.
Okay.
And I would say, you know, home cooks watching today, a lot of folks don't season, and that is one of the biggest ways to get great flavor. So y'all don't skimp on the seasonings.
Well, and Old Bay is just perfect for this.
Yes, and I add the Old Bay to the vegetables as well as to the shrimp that we'll put in here later.
Gosh.
Oh, yeah, plenty of salt.
So you know she knows what she's doing because it's just going everywhere. Love it.
That's right. And I've got a little herbs de Provence here that I like to add. This is an Italian seasoning blend, and it just gives us a nice depth of flavor. So if you want to go ahead and dump that rice.
Dump the rice on.
Yes, ma'am. And we're going to toast the rice so it gets a nice flavor on it. And then once that rice is all toasted, and it smells so good, right?
I love it.
Man, it looks good in here. This is just our flavor building. And once we get this rice toasted, we're going to give it just a few minutes.
Right. Well, some of you may think that this lady looks familiar. So if you watch Next Food Network Star in season 14, she was a finalist. And I mean, our whole community was just pulling for you.
Oh, well,
you did a phenomenal job.
Thank you so much. It was an exhilarating experience to be able to meet and cook for Bobby Flay, which I know you have had a show with Bobby before. And Giada De Laurentiis and even Tyler Florence, a Southern boy, I got to meet him, and they all tasted my food, which was really phenomenal. I made this very dish for them in the very first challenge on Food Network Star. So they have eaten my jambalaya, and they called it fantastic and really loved it. But now, Vera, I have a funny story. When I was on the Food Network, they challenged us at this park in Orlando, Universal Studios, to make a park-friendly dish, and so we couldn't use any utensils. So I'm so glad you have some forks and knives in your kitchen today.
That would be a little bit hard to do.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, so we've got a lot of other ingredients that we're going to keep adding to
Yes.
this as we go to break.
Yes.
So you've got bacon and just a good...
Bacon and sausage right here. We already cooked that. We're going to add this back into our dish, and then we can go ahead and bring on that tomato paste.
Yep.
And then the can of tomatoes over there. We've got some fire roasted tomatoes.
All right, well, we're going to stay busy while we go to break. You
Yes.
won't miss anything. And then when we come back in Vera's Corner today, we're going to go over how to make puff pastry from scratch. Because, you know, I love the baking stuff too, Rebekah,
Yes. Oh,
as you
yes.
know. And then after that, we'll be getting started on that shrimp and corn chowder.
Oh, yes.
So
And I'm
yummy,
going to pop
yummy.
this in the oven for 20 minutes, and then we're going to pop the shrimp in. And when we get back, everything will be delicious.
Yes, come on back. Puff pastry can be a daunting task, even for an accomplished baker, but I've got a tip that will make this process much simpler. Try a food processor. Using a food processor fitted with the slicer blade, thinly slice 1 3/4 sticks of frozen butter. Transfer the sliced butter to a plate and freeze. Fit the same bowl of the food processor with the blade attachment. Add 1 1/4 cups of bread flour and a teaspoon of kosher salt, then pulse to mix. Gradually add just enough water so that the dough forms a ball. Scrape the dough onto a floured work surface, roll the dough into a 20-inch long rectangle, 1/4 inch thick. Arrange the frozen sliced butter in a single layer on the dough. With the short end facing you, fold up the dough in 4-inch increments until you reach the end. Brush off any excess flour. Rotate the dough so that one of the open ends is facing you. Using a rolling pin, gently tap the dough to flatten it slightly, then roll again into a 20-inch rectangle, 1/4 inch thick. Fold the dough over itself in 4-inch increments until you reach the end. Brush off any excess flour after each fold, and then repeat this process 3 times. Wrap the puff pastry in plastic and freeze until well chilled, about 15 minutes or 6 months. Try your hand at this baking staple. Welcome back, everybody. And you know what? It's smelling some kind of good
Yes,
in here
it
right
is.
now. You know, these recipes that we just kind of grew up with. And until you got on Next Food Network Star, you probably thought that was an ordinary dish.
Right.
And it's just
that's
blown
so
up.
true.
It's like it's
Yeah.
this gourmet meal.
When you travel outside the South, you never, that's when I realize how special the South really is. So I love these recipes.
There's
and
no place like home.
That's right. No place like home.
Okay, well, we had a few things we had to finish during
We
the
did,
break.
yes. So right before we went to break, y'all, to finish up that jambalaya, we added a can of fire roasted tomatoes and also poured that chicken stock down in there and popped it in the oven. It's smelling some kind of good, you're right.
It really is.
So we're going to jump right into our next recipe, which is this wild Georgia shrimp and corn chowder. We've got in here, Miss Vera, some bacon fat that's already been rendered. We've got our bacon sitting out here, and it is going to be for our garnish later.
And let's not eat it all.
Any recipe that starts with a little pig in the pan is good in my book.
I know. My mother-in-law actually used to say, Rebekah, if you didn't have any dinner plans, just fry a strip of bacon.
That's
so
right.
when your husband gets home, now my
sounds
husband's
good.
doing all the cooking.
That's right. I love that. So in here, I'm adding some celery. We've got a little bit of green onion and sweet Vidalia onion, and then some corn on the cob, which has been shaved off of the cob. And Miss Vera, I love now in the summertime when that sweet corn is in season and those wild Georgia shrimp are plump and abundant. It is my favorite time to make this.
But now you can freeze that corn cut off the cob.
Exactly. So in the wintertime, this is also a really warm and comforting dish. Ooh, and I just love these flavor combinations together.
Well, you know, we have a place in Beaufort, and we can go to the end of our dock and actually throw the shrimp net, because right now it's shrimp season. I mean, we're dead in the middle of it.
That's right.
So that, like you say, it's just the perfect thing.
Oh, yeah. So let's add some seasoning in here if you want to grind some pepper.
Oh, yeah.
I love that freshly ground pepper, and we'll do a little salt as well.
Okay.
And then we're going to add some flour in here to help thicken up.
I'm going to do it like you did it.
You know, I learned that little tidbit in culinary school. It's kind of a chefy thing to do.
I know.
But the idea is that when you season up high, it gives you an even spread versus, you know how you ever get down close on it and you've got a spot of salt on a piece of chicken or something?
Okay, so what's next?
So let's add in the flour.
Okay.
We need to let these cook for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then we'll add in the flour. You can go ahead.
Okay.
And what that flour is going to do is just help us to thicken up. When we add the milk, it's going to give us a nice, rich chowder.
I mean, couldn't you just eat soup every night?
I could, and I love to serve this with a little French bread and butter and a salad to round out the meal. And I tell you, I don't need anything else. I can die happy.
Golly, I mean, your husband must be so excited to come home and have a meal like this.
I'm telling you, and it's easy to whip up after work. You know, I work full time, so when I get home, these are the kind of recipes, 30 minutes or less.
Well, and even to have that in the freezer is great.
Yes. So let's add in the potatoes as well. And we've just chopped up some russet potatoes, small diced, and these actually will cook as the milk simmers.
Right. Well, and here again, I'm always, as the former caterer, thinking of what you can do in advance. And you can cut these potatoes up and just let them sit in the water until you're ready to do it so they don't turn brown.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Now, Miss Vera, the recipes that we've made today on your show are all available on my blog, somekindofgood.com, and that's how I got my start in 2011. I started blogging and writing, and all of these are also featured in my debut memoir, which people can find by visiting RebekahLingenfelser.com. And I hope y'all will, if you love Southern coastal cuisine and recipes like you're seeing today, it would make a great Christmas present for the Southern cook on your list, and also a reader if you enjoy Southern stories and family traditions like that dinner on the grounds we talked about earlier.
And that's what I mean. I just think it's just sometimes it's just great to get a memory like that, and it makes you go back to one of your own favorite recipes.
Exactly.
Just a great twist on it.
Yes. And now before we add in that milk, we're going to pop in some fresh thyme, which I grew in my Savannah, Georgia garden. It smells so fragrant.
Oh, I love it.
And also a few bay leaves, and then you can go ahead and pour that milk in there.
Okay. And then we're going to have to go to break in just a second, so we may have a little bit more to do after that. All right, so when we come back, we're going to get it all together. We've got an absolutely fabulous meal together. We've even got an appetizer because it rained outside.
That's right. Thanks,
with the pimento cheese. So y'all come back with us. We're going to get this spread all laid out.
Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back, everybody. Rebekah, it's smelling some kind of good in here right now.
It really is.
Honestly, and if there was a better name for your book, I want to hear it. I mean, this is just perfect. The aromas are phenomenal right now.
Well, thank you. We are getting ready to have us a feast. It is all done. So I'm going to ladle up this wild Georgia shrimp and corn chowder. It has had time to thicken. It's been simmering for a good 10 minutes.
Gorgeous.
And all those good
that's
flavors.
Like a medium-sized shrimp in there.
Yes, exactly. That doesn't take long to cook. Let's finish it off with a little bit of green onion to make it pretty, and some crunchy bacon.
Oh,
set that right there so y'all can get a good view.
And I love it.
You want to do the honors of lifting the lid on that beautiful jambalaya. I'm excited.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
Man alive, that's looking some kind of good, y'all.
All right, let's check it out. Oh gosh.
Man.
I'm telling you, my family, well, I'm just spreading it all over the place.
That's all right.
My family would go crazy for this.
Yes.
That looks so good.
Well, thank you, and it is going to be some kind of good. And this is easy. We're garnishing with the same thing.
Well, now, you were telling that story earlier about no utensils when you went off with the Food Network.
Yes, yes. So, y'all, earlier we mentioned that story about having no utensils, as Vera said, and I actually am so glad that we don't have to tip it on back today. I tried to get Giada De Laurentiis to tip her funnel that I served this in on the Food Network on back, and it did not go over. So thankfully you've got some
and you know, back to this pimento cheese recipe that we got to make today, because you know we didn't get to go to the marina. Things like this, instead of bread, You could do this.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, you could even spread that on a
piece of celery.
Yes,
anything. Great for baby showers. Just having a friend drop in. You know, it's easy to pull together.
You know, the hardest thing for me in retail was how long things lasted with the USDA and the health department, and something like that really does have quite a long shelf life.
Right.
You know, when you make it yourself, you freshly grated that cheese. But this is just such a wonderful meal. And Rebekah, your storytelling, the way that you have presented our South in the book with the way the recipes are done, as she said, this book would make a fantastic Christmas gift for those folks that just have these roots. To read somebody else that understands what those roots mean to you would be an amazing thing. And we've got the information up on the screen on how you can get that book. So I want to thank you so much for being part of this today. I'm so proud of the folks in Augusta that have gone on to live their dream and to do those things. It's just phenomenal.
Yes, well, thank you for having me here. It has truly been an honor. My grandma Dot is going to watch this at home. Hey, Grandma. And she is going to be so proud. She has been a customer of yours for years, loved to eat your cakes and casseroles, and she just loves her some VeryVera. So it is an honor to be here, and I couldn't be more excited.
Well, as I always say on the VeryVera Show, no matter what you do it in good taste. I don't know what to taste first, maybe the soup, but I want you to come back with us again next week. We'll be at the headquarters of Sub-Zero and Wolf in Madison, Wisconsin, doing our Thanksgiving show. So come back.
That's going to be good.
To see what's cooking with the VeryVera Show, follow us on Facebook and Instagram and on Cottage Ketchup.